Nvidia just presented an amazing Q3 earnings report, but as we predicted at Waves Capital, it turned out to be a massive bull trap. The stock fell as much as 8% over the course of a single session following the immediate post-earnings pop. And in this video, I want to talk about why things are likely to get worse before they get better. But I also want to talk about why this is an amazing time and could be a great opportunity to pick up some quality assets for the long term. And I think that this man right here would agree. My name is Royce Jacob, and welcome back to Waves Capital. Let's talk bloodshed. All right, so we will, of course, be diving into the charts, jumping into TradingView, and I'll give you guys some of my short-term targets for Nvidia, while also taking a look at an old friend of ours, APLD, who unfortunately I am on the other side of the trade that I've typically taken in the past. I'm currently shorting APLD. I established a put position within my portfolio and or the Waves portfolio early this morning as soon as the market opened while the stock was up like 13%. So that put position is already doing incredibly well, obviously, along with the Nvidia position that we were holding going into this report with the expectation of this being the reaction being negative. And I'll talk a little bit more. I'll talk a little bit more about my psyche going into this report as we progress through the video. But before we cover what I think is a great analyst opinion, there aren't a lot of those out there, at least in my opinion. But specifically, I do resonate with this one, obviously, given my positioning. But before we dive into the charts, before we dive into some fundamentals, and again, to talk about why from a longer term horizon, medium to long term horizon even, this could be a great opportunity to buy, I just want to let you know that there is always a bull market somewhere, and thankfully in the Waves portfolio, in my personal portfolio, we had Nvidia puts and Applied Digital puts, as I just implied, going into the bloodbath that we just experienced today. And I did skim some profits, but we are holding on to them, and I really look forward to using some of these put profits to deploy into some longer term call options. That's one of my favorite things to do in the trading game, using short-term put profits to shark up long-term call options. And with fear pretty much reaching, it's very rare to see fear this high. I think that we could get some great opportunities very, very soon. I'm talking tomorrow if you're watching this video on November 20th. So if you guys want a full breakdown of my entire portfolio, if you want to know how I'm trading puts, if you want to know what I'm buying, if you want to know what literally my entire portfolio consists of, along with my daily trade alerts and newsletters that look like this. If you want these in your inbox every single trading day, just for some validation, you can see here, I'm not showing my portfolio, but this was yesterday on the 19th, right after the report. I said spirits are high this evening, but it's important to keep in mind that after hours price action doesn't always translate to the following trading day. I'd love to see this bull market kick back in a high gear, but if I'm being honest, my gut is telling me that this could be a massive bull trap in the making. There's going to be a whole lot of exit liquidity flying around today or tomorrow, which is now today, and that's kind of exactly what happened and what I was anticipating. So if you guys want a full breakdown on my portfolio, it's $15 a month, $40 for every 3 months. Try it free. The reason I do free trials is because I'm so confident in the product I provide, and it's been an amazing year at Waves Capital. So first link in the description if you'd like to join the winning team, or in the pinned comments. Welcome to the team if you do. If not, no worries at all. I still appreciate you watching this video. And I hope that you are doing your best to keep a smile on your face. And I hope that you had some puts going into what was a very disappointing day for many. Okay, so Nvidia, again, we'll get into the charts, but before we do that, let's just go over this article, okay? CNBC Pro by Lisa Han, Nvidia turns red even after earnings blowout. One analyst note may explain why. Nvidia turned red on Wednesday, giving up a sizable gain even after what appeared to be impeccable results and guidance. That left investors and traders scrambling to find out why. One analyst may have the answer. Out of Wall Street's major investment banks, Deutsche Bank stood alone Wednesday with its neutral stance on Nvidia. The analyst seemed to be the only one with a negative comment on the AI poster child following a report of earnings and revenue that exceeded consensus estimates alongside a 66% year-over-year rise in data center sales. So, from my perspective, this is a very important thing. Okay, the analyst seemed to be the only one with a negative comment on the AI poster child. Okay, that's why I just said, analysts respect to anyone in this game who's doing something that's so hard and abstract as market analysis. But, this is a very, very simple example of what I consider to be an obvious contrarian trade, or, zigging when the market zags. It was so, when everyone, similar to what we're seeing now, be greedy when they're fearful, it's not like the markets were greedy, but the fact that literally every analyst but this one had a very, very positive stance and an optimistic viewpoint on Nvidia, going to the report and following the report, in my mind at least, raised some red flags. And, going forward in the future, when you see everyone, when something is pretty much guaranteed, which in the markets, nothing's ever guaranteed. And this is the perfect example of that. When something seems too good to be true, when something seems too obvious, it probably is too obvious, and it probably is too good to be true. So this is the one analyst of many that did happen to get it right. I would consider myself a trader, and proponent of the craft, not really an analyst, but thankfully we got that right too at Waves Cap. But still, you guys, zig when the market zags. It pays off big time to take those contrarian stances again when something seems too obvious. So that's my rant there, and that really kind of just sums up my general thesis going into the trade. Was that everyone is so damn confident that Nvidia was going to blow it out of the water, and that this bull market, this AI bull market trade, still has 1 to 2 years left. That's what every single talking head says. When everyone's agreeing on something, it's you're preaching to the choir, and you're gonna be that extra liquidity that fortunately a lot of investors utilize today. Okay, Ross Seymour gave mainly one reason, that's valuation. Seymour wrote that although he remains bullish on Nvidia in the long run, same here, his current rating reflects the fact that incredible expectations over the next 2 years already seem to be priced into the stock. And again, you guys, that's why as I kind of just said, when it comes to these analysts talking about freaking every talking head that I see on CNBC and Bloomberg is like, oh, there's at least 1 to 2 years left in this. We're in the third inning, but there's still 1 to 2 years left in this AI trade. If every analyst is saying that, and everyone who's watching CNBC and Bloomberg, which is pretty much every retail Joe out there, when that's happening, again, you're too late. You're too late. It's not the third inning. Maybe, again, is Nvidia going to find success in the future and be a massive multi-trillion-dollar company moving forward? Absolutely. But did things get overblown in the short term? I think they 100% did, and that's what we're seeing today is an unwinding and kind of an unraveling of that. So let's jump into the charts. And then lastly, I'll talk about, just the fear and greed index and reference Mr. Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha himself, and just talk about kind of what I'm excited about in the future just to close things out. Okay, so Nvidia, as you can see here, once again, from that early morning pop, thank goodness we held on to all of our put options and, again, sharked up some Applied Digital puts. We'll take a look at Applied Digital on the charts after this just because it's relevant. But as you can see here, Nvidia, this is what worried me yesterday, and we saw the same thing on Applied Digital. And actually, in this report, you can see, or in yesterday's Nvidia analysis that I wrote right after the report, I said that I'm seeing inverse head and shoulders patterns printing on many Nvidia adjacent stocks. Okay, so CoreWeave, honestly, any growth stocks, Palantir, primarily Applied Digital and Nvidia, which is why I chose to buy all of those Applied Digital puts this morning. But you can see here, after hours, we came up to match this, and pretty much we immediately played it out. So that's very validating. But I do still think we fall further. As far as the short term is concerned, and then we'll zoom out and talk about why things could get really, really bloody for Nvidia, which would be pretty scary. But you should always, and I don't think it's actually likely that we fall much lower than this right here, given the extreme fear that the markets are experiencing. But I'll still zoom out and kind of express some of those worst case, what I would perceive to be the worst case scenario targets for Nvidia. But as far as the shorter term is concerned, and I'm talking, one to 5 sessions, let's just say, over the next week, going into December, Thanksgiving holiday, could be kind of gnarly. But anyway, I do think that Nvidia at least comes down, another, I'd say 4 to 5% in order to really play out what I would consider to be this shorter term head and shoulders pattern. This would be the real base. I mean, this could be the absolute base. I would never use that. I would say this is really, as far as the short term, before we see any meaningful bounce, I could see us falling to 168, 169 to what I would consider to be successfully resolve this head and shoulders pattern. So keep a close eye out on this 169 level. That's where I will personally be taking a significant amount of profits there off of my February put position. But as we zoom out here, this is where things get pretty scary looking. So when we go to weekly and just zoom out, this is what looks scary, you guys, right? Is the fact that Nvidia has just rallied so ridiculously hard over the past couple of years that now that the tables have turned a bit, and again, not that Nvidia isn't going to be a successful company moving forward, and that not that it's not going to be here 10, 20, 50 years from now. It's just that this thing has gotten so pumped up so fast. And again, the game of musical chairs is being played, which is why, if you're a member of the trading group or the portfolio group, you would know that we crushed it with CoreWeave puts over the past couple of weeks, and they've just been tanking ever since their earnings report. And again, we made a killing off those put profits too. But that to say that, again, this is kind of a game of musical chairs when it comes to these AI companies. Like, Nvidia is just getting revenue. CoreWeave is a subsidiary of Nvidia, and there's just capital flowing throughout this handful of companies that almost, and it's not artificially prop up the valuations of them, but it makes them look a lot shinier than they actually are under the surface. So at least that's my opinion, or that's my perception. So again, crushed it with the CoreWeave puts, and that's that thesis, that thought, the AI bubble thought, is very, very scary to people, okay? And that's why, although things are extremely fearful, when it comes to this AI bubble and how much NVIDIA has run up and how overextended it's gotten, utilizing these 1 week candles and just zooming out on the chart, it leads me to believe that we could fall a lot further than this. And keep in mind, if that sounds crazy, just keep in mind, back in April, we fell significantly. Just in April of this year, fell significantly. It wouldn't be crazy at all to, to see some mean reversion. And when it comes to my next targets, this is a pretty obvious. There's a pretty large gap right here, daily gap. I won't go to daily candles, but from there, my next target would be around just $1.50. Solid psychological even. You could see multiple. It acted as a significant realm of support over here back in late 2024. So just about a year ago. So 150, I would definitely start taking some profits there. I wouldn't be buying puts at 150, but just to play devil's advocate here, if you guys are familiar with the channel, if you guys have watched any of my trader tips videos, which is members exclusive, I'll also be recording a waves plays after this, talking about Bitcoin, silver, on some of our other players. So hit the join button. That's $5 a month for the YouTube exclusive videos. Plug aside, you would know that this pattern right here, this line of broken resistance, coming into play as new support, and vice versa, is my favorite technical trading pattern in the game. And Nvidia has two very, very critical levels of broken resistance that have yet to come into play as new support. Okay, so first things first, before we talk about those, we do have the 100-week moving average that coincides pretty nicely with my line of conservative support here on what I would consider to be this, ascending channel / megaphone channel kind of pattern. And that comes into play at like 130. So 130, definitely, if we fall that far, take significantly more profits, because I will still be holding a subtle NVIDIA position just in case this thing gets really ugly. But, worst case scenario is going to be the intersection. This would be insane to see. Would be the intersection of this line of broken resistance as well as this line of broken resistance. This is really the one that scares me. Touch point here, multiple weekly touch points here. This is a very, very clear line of resistance that since we broke out in January of 24 has yet to be retested as new support. So this is a pretty cataclysmic scenario. We would have to have Three Eye Atlas come and make contact for this to happen, I think. But overall, I do still think we do see more pain in the short term. That being said, I think I've heard a lot of people say as well, like kind of like the doomers out there, say that there is no safe areas in the market, and kind of what we saw today reflects that. But I do think I like silver. The more I look at it, still holding a large silver position. On is a company that I like a lot right now. It's on running. So there are some realms of the market that I do think will perform better. Even, like the S&P 500 equal weighted index, just because the S&P 500 is so heavily weighted by, these Mag 7 names that could, and Nvidia, which is the largest company in the freaking world, which could drag down the actual S&P 500 or SPY, as well as the Qs, NASDAQ. But the equal weight S&P 500 could be a good place to, just set some capital if you want to capitalize on the fear. And, there's always, as I said earlier, there's always a bull market somewhere. Today, those were put options. So thankfully, we had plenty of put options. But once the dust settles, there are always diamonds in the rough that can prevail. And, if you listen to what this man says, be fearful when the markets get greedy and be greedy when the markets get fearful, then, the strong survive and the strong thrive. Just make sure you don't get liquidated. I know a lot of people out there, especially in the crypto world, have gotten liquidated. So if that's you, my condolences. But, sometimes the best lessons are learned the hard way. So, keep your heads high. It's bloody out there. Stay safe. Keep a cool head on your shoulders when there is a lot of emotion flying around. And, always remember to make waves. I'll see you guys in the comments down below. Talk to me about whatever you like and let me know what you think about the future of pretty much anything in the markets. Again, I'll see you in the comments. And until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.